To be Wastelanders, welcome to the Lost Holotapes channel. Today we will continue our discussion about the capital Wasteland, taking into account the gameplay part of the plot from events occurring slightly before the escape from Vault 101 to the activation of Project Purity. After February of 24 of 2277, fire ants bred by Dr. Leska destroyed the settlement of Greenwich. Only one boy and a scientist hiding in the laboratory survive. In the city of Arefu, Jan West, a 15-year-old boy who suffered a head injury as a child when he was attacked by a wanderer but managed to tear out his throat, but started to experience the hunger ever since, killed his parents in the sleep to devour them. At this time the family attacks Arefu, and Vance, after noticing what Jan had done, takes him to the family. After the attack, the residents of Arefu blow up the northern span of the bridge and sit in defense. The Talon Company is established in two additional camps, Talon Arlington Camp and Talon Alexandria Camp. The duo of scientists of Isabella Proud studied ghouls in Tacoma Park. They spent 75 days doing observations until an overly enthusiastic Isabella smeared protective suits with something to attract ghouls. As a result, they were attacked and killed. Arkansas, the only surviving boy from the village of Richfield, already being an old man, all his life hatched a plan of revenge for the slavers of Paradise Falls. He mines the ruins of Richfield, takes a sniper position and starts a rumor that a new settlement has appeared there. Paradise Falls squad arrives and falls into a death trap. Raider outposts, Metro Junction and Franklin Station were destroyed by feral ghouls. The Brotherhood of Steel, in search of previous scientific books and documents, attacks raiders in the Arlington Library and seizes the main lobby of the building. Megaton is raided by the Boppo's gang from Springvale. Sheriff Lucas Sims shoots Boppo and the raiders retreat back. They decide to switch their attention to another goal, Vault 101, and begin to dig a tunnel directly from the school building in which they were sitting. However, while they were digging, they came across a nest of giant ants that devoured 7 raiders, so the raiders abandoned the idea and went back to school. Megaton has a problem with overpopulation. The walls surrounding the crater limit the inevitable sprawl of the city. Because of this, there is a very strict discipline. Sheriff Sims throws people out of the city if they violate the rules, freeing up residential spaces. A few months before August 17, Tanya Christoph, resident of Canterbury, goes crazy and becomes the Antagonizer, a supervillain from the Preva Hobris comics series, who somehow managed to subdue the ants. She wants to destroy Canterbury by staging attacks using giant insects. Her ants destroy the robots of local inventor Scott Walensky, who takes on the guise of a superhero, the Mechanist, to protect the settlement. Around July, Riley's Rangers lost 2 of their team in a skirmish with supermutants and received confirmation of a well-paid order to map the wasteland and destroy supermutants, district by district. During the endeavors, they had an incident with the Talon mercenaries, which ended badly for the latter. Having an order to clean up the city from supermutants, they are planning to storm Vernon Square. However, they overestimated their strength. The squad got trapped on the roof of the Statesman Hotel, with one of the team members getting dismembered. Only Riley managed to escape. Meanwhile, the supermutants began furiously attacking outposts and camps of human factions. In particular, they attacked Big Town, from where they took several teenagers to Germantown to devour, and seized the mall bunker of the Brotherhood, making it their own outpost. Also in July, a scouting party of children from Little Lamplight is attacked by raiders who sell children to slavers of Paradise Falls. Here starts the gameplay part of Fallout 3. James, the founder of the Project Purity and now a doctor in Vault 101, decides to leave the vault and go in search of Brown or Gek in Vault 112. But of course, no one is going to raise the Iron Curtain and let him out. An incident helped him. On August 17, the infestation of rat roaches began. James takes advantage of the opportunity and fights his way to the gear doors while the security officers were busy with insects. Rat roaches attack and kill several residents. In addition, conflicts between security and residents began. Several people, taking advantage of the moment, tried to escape into the wasteland, but the guards killed them. Also, the guards beat James' assistant to death and tried to arrest his son, the protagonist known as Lone Wanderer, in order to interrogate him with passion and most likely execute him. The overseer personally interrogates his daughter at gunpoint. Nevertheless, the Lone Wanderer managed to break through to the gear doors and go in search of his father. Overseer Alphonse announces lockdown and full police control of the vault. Totalitarianism has come and the tightening of the screws has begun. The vault divided into 2 factions, isolationists and those who want to reopen the vault. The second group mainly consists of young residents of the vault. The main arguments for opening the vault were the problems of inbreeding and aging administration that has lost touch with reality, and the need to receive resources from outside as their own began to run out. There was no doctor in the vault anymore, and many of the wounded died. There was an attempt to use Mr. Handy, but he killed the patient with a bruised toe by amputation of the leg. The other leg. James, passing through Megaton, heads to Rivet City, where he finds his old friends, but they refuse to help him with the project, because of his betrayal 20 years ago. Then James goes to Vault 112 on his own, but Stanislaus Brown captures him using robots and places him in his virtual reality. The Lone Wanderer follows in the footsteps of his father and arrives to Megaton. Mr. Brooke, Tenpenny's right-hand man, tries to recruit him because of him being non-resident, in order to activate the bomb destroying the city. but instead the Wanderer defuses the bomb and hands over Burke to Lucas Sims. But Burke does not allow himself to be arrested by shooting the sheriff dead. Interesting fact, there is no quest to destroy Megaton in the Japanese version of the game for ethical reasons. The Wanderer contacts Moira Brown and helps her with writing a book, Wasteland Surviving Guide. He performs various tasks, including self-harming, self-poisoning with radiation, and so on. But we are more interested in other tasks. As part of the work on the book, the Wanderer finds himself in a super-duper mart, where he kills raiders and collects pre-war food and medicines. He also visits Arlington Library, where he helps the Brotherhood eliminate the raiders inside. Roxal's gang is also eliminated while the Wanderer was testing the repellent against mole rats in tepid sewers. While in Megaton, the Wanderer is asked to take the letter to RFO. Once in the settlement, he turns out to be the one who is able to solve the problem with the family and bring back Jan West. In search of the Miresti settlement, the Wanderer checks the Hamilton hideaway, where he finds raiders, whom he deals with. The Wanderer finds Miresti and helps to negotiate settlements. In exchange for the supply of packages of blood purchased from caravans, the family take the duty of defending RFO. Looking for the family, the Wanderer also found himself in Big Town, full of fatalistic residents constantly suffering from slavers and super mutants. The Wanderer helps the town by rescuing several previously captured teenagers from Germantown, who have not yet been eaten. Next, the Wanderer receives a tip to visit 3 Dog, the host of Galaxy News Radio, who may know about James' whereabouts. The radio station building located in Chevy Chase is under siege by super mutants, a group of which even included a behemoth. With losses, the Brotherhood managed to defend its base, and the Wanderer gets acquainted with 3 Dog. In exchange for information about the protagonist's father, 3 Dog asks to find a new satellite dish in the Museum of Technology. The Wanderer passes through the Smithsonian Station, aka Museum Station, eliminating the raiders who are holed up there, and once in the museum, eliminating the super mutants. He takes the satellite dish and delivers to the Washington Monument, installing it on its peak. 3 Dog tells the Wanderer to look for answers in Rivet City, a city in a stranded aircraft carrier. The Wanderer gets to the Rivet City through Anacostia Crossing Station, clearing it of raiders. In the city itself, he learns that his father went to the Jefferson Memorial, where despite the presence of super mutants, he managed to leave notes to look for him in Vault 112. At the request of the Preservation Society and its president Abraham Washington, the Wanderer finds important historical documents and museum exhibits in the National Archives building, eliminating the super mutants who have settled there along the way. Arriving at the vault, the Wanderer himself is placed in virtual reality. Resisting the will of Stanislaus Brown, who turned James into a dog and demanded that the Wanderer kill all the inhabitants, the Wanderer finds an emergency switch that turns off virtual reality. He thereby activates a program that was supposed to free all residents from torment, essentially killing them in reality, at the same time depriving Stanislaus of control over the virtuality. The Wanderer rescues his father, and after finding information in the vault about the location of Gek in Vault 87, they return to Rivet City, passing through Minuteman Station and Overlook Drive-In, eliminating a couple more groups of raiders. In Rivet City, the Wanderer and his father persuade Medicine Lead to revive the Project Purity. Nevertheless, scientific interest has gained the upper hand over grievances. The only thing remains is to clear the Jefferson Memorial of super mutants, but the Wanderer copes with the task as well. A group of Rivet City scientists led by Madison Lee and James relocate to the memorial and restore the Purificator, which has been covering with dust for 20 years. But they failed to finish work on the project and launch it. The Enclave intelligence found out about the Purificator and the faction wanted to use it. John Henry Aden wanted to spread a special strain of the VIV that would kill mutants and irradiated people in the region, and Colonel Autumn wanted to establish the rule of the Enclave over the region by controlling a scarce resource, drinking water. The goals don't actually converge. But in any case, the Jefferson Memorial had to be seized. The Enclave lands on vertebrates near the building and seizes the facility together with the scientists who were there. They demand that James and his team work for Enclave for the good of America, executing one of the scientists to intimidate James for his initial refusal. James eligibly agrees, but taking the opportunity locks himself in a cell with the colonel and turns off the radiation shield, filling the cell with it. James sacrifices himself and dies, and the colonel survives by injecting some kind of drug into his vein. By taking advantage of the fuss made by James, the team of scientists evacuates to the citadel of the Brotherhood through the tough tunnel. Scientists ask for help from the Order, and the Brotherhood integrates the Project Purity into itself. Owen understands that the Purificator in the hands of the Enclave poses a threat to the entire region. He could not ignore this and therefore declares a war on the Enclave, essentially going all in, given the scarce human resource of the faction. Scribes in such circumstances accelerate the work on the Liberty Prime repair. While the scientists and the Wanderer are recovering, the Brotherhood is building up its military potential, and the Enclave is setting up camps and outposts in the region, which we will talk about later. A number of events related to secondary story arcs are taking place in the region. The Outcasts create a VSS outpost, breaking through the super mutants who have settled in the Bailey Crossroads. The VSS outpost is essentially an underground laboratory of a Prevo company, Virtual Simulator Strategies, that was developing training programs for the military in virtual reality. In that bunker behind the locked doors there was a weapons depot that could be opened only after passing the training course of the Battle of Anchorage. But the problem was that if a person had died during the training, he would have died in reality, since the technology had been damaged over the years. However, after the successful competition of the training course, when the doors open, there is a mutiny in the camp of the outcasts, and they kill each other. The outpost perishes. Fort Independence is attacked by raiders from Fairfax, but the heavily armed faction managed to easily repel the attack. The raiders also attack and take out the Overglow Supermutant camp. The raiders from the Chast farm, as well as the outcast camp near Satcom Array and N03, were attacked by Deathclaws, or sentry bots or giant albino scorpions or whoever spawned, and were destroyed. The Lions Brotherhood squad conducts training in the settlement of Falls Church, not knowing that supermutants have set up an outpost there. Supermutants ambush, killing part of the squad, but some manage to escape. Talon Company felt brave enough to attack the supermutants in Tacoma Park, Seward Square and the Capitol, but they overestimated their strength and they failed to take any location. The storming of the Capitol was frenzied, but Talon couldn't oppose anything to the behemoth located under the dome. At the same time, the supermutants, having discovered an exit from the hospital on Vernon Square to the dry collector in which Talon mercenaries have settled, attacked the camp and destroyed it. Abolitionists stormed the slavers' camp at the Lincoln Memorial, after which they moved there themselves, putting in place the head of the president from Kentucky. There are elections in Dave's Republic. The result depends on the player's choice, but in our story, we let Dave lose them. Offended like a baby, he departs to Olney to find Dave's new republic, but dies from Deathclaws just entering the Prevo city. His eldest son Bob, or his first wife Rosie, becomes the new president, and accordingly they would rename the settlement into Republica or Rospublic. Yeah, in such a responsible event of the manifestation of a civic action, they should lose solely for the sake of these ingenious jokes I invented. I don't understand why there is no renaming of the settlement in Fallout 3 after Dave's defeat, also this is the whole point of the settlement. The Wanderer convinces Alistair Tenpenny to let the ghouls from Warrington Station into the settlement by conducting a poll among the residents who didn't oppose such an idea. Unfortunately, Roy Phillips turned out to be a problematic ghoul, and during the conflict with Alistair, he killed him a few days after settling in, and also ordered the ghouls to massacre all other smooth-skinned, not sparing even the honorary ghoul of Underworld, Herbert Dashwood. Railroad, an organization that helps fleeing synth from Boston, is trying to help another android pretending to be a Rivet City security guard after changing his appearance. The head of the Institute's department, which we will talk about in detail in the episode dedicated to the Commonwealth Wasteland, comes to the Rivet City in search for the rogue synth. The Wanderer helps Riley, and together they rescue her team of mercenaries holding a siege at the hotel in Vernon Square, completing an order of cleaning up the area. In Canterbury, meanwhile, two superheroes, the Antagonizer and the Mechanist, are fighting against each other, what threatens the settlement with structural destruction and casualties. After the Wanderer's help in calming the comic book heroes, traveling Mechans come to Canterbury and establish a cooperative. Things are going well in the Oasis, though only for tree minders. Despite the fact that Harold already wants to just die, preferring death to the life of a tree, they use all sorts of additives and fertilizers to, on the contrary, accelerate the growth of Harold and vegetate more space around. Following in the footsteps of the Keller family, collecting their holotapes to get access to the National Guard bunker, the Wanderer cleans several locations of their inhabitants, including Pylon Shack, Grizzly Dinner and Hellwood Moor Cemetery. The Wanderer travels to the Point Lookout in search of a girl who was joining the Punga tribe. Nothing interesting is happening in the region from the point of view of some local geopolitics. Calvert is still at the war with Desmond Lockhart and incites the Punga tribe to attack him. He blows up his mansion where Desmond lived and dies after the Wanderer helped Desmond get into the St. Aubin Center. As part of the secondary lines, the Wanderer messes with the swamp folk on the ritual site and steals the Book of Krivbechnich to deliver it to Dunwich and burn at the obelisk. More interesting things are developing in Pete. Ishmael Asher's right-hand man, Werner, wants to overthrow him and organizes a conspiracy to free the slaves. He travels to the capital Wasteland to find someone who can infiltrate and whom no one knows inside. Ishmael had a baby daughter who turned out to be immune to local mutations. Ishmael's wife, Sandra Kundanica, is conducting research on her daughter to find a cure for a local scourge that turns people into troglodytes, altering their appearance and depriving them of their mind. Thanks to the influence of the Wanderer, the slave uprising is successful and the overthrow of the Asher's raiders takes place. In particular, the Wanderer steals Asher's child and delivers her to the slaves. He also turns off the spotlights that were driving away the troglodytes. As a result, hordes of troglodytes attacked uptown, destroying the raiders sitting there and putting an end to the Asher's empire. It is not very clear what happened to Pete after the uprising, but perhaps the former slaves stayed at the factory in downtown, continuing to make steel and trade in it. While the Wanderer performs side quests, the Enclave establishes several camps and outposts, and also continues to create hotbeds of tension in the region. In total, it establishes over 30 new outposts that do not even have their own names. Basically, of course, outposts are needed so that life doesn't seem easy for the player, but they do not play a role in this story. However, there are several that should be mentioned anyway. Among them are West Olney, Fort Independence North, Vault 92 Camp, Agatha House Camp, in which the Wastelanders are burnt with flamethrowers in trailers for having any mutations, Chrysalis Camp and Yawagaya Cave Camp, which were almost immediately destroyed by raiders, Lakeside Ruins, in which an officer of the Enclave shot several of his soldiers dead for some unknown reason, Satcom Array NW07, in which the ghouls captured in the Wastelands were burned, Camp Raw, threatening Canterbury and the Meccans visiting it, Deathclaw Sanctuary, in which Enclave conducted research with the reptiles, including catching them to gain control with helmets and using them as weapons. There is nothing to say about the others at all, so you can pause the video again and familiarize yourself with the list. The Enclave begins field missions in the Wasteland and tries to seize several locations. So the Enclave drops 2 mini nukes on a group of Talon mercenaries in Arlington, and also bombs Seward Square at the capital while Talons are fighting super mutants there. When trying to land at the capital to capture it, the Enclave was defeated by super mutants without even breaching inside. Super mutants inflict even more damage to the Enclave, taking down the vertebrate near Kt.3 tower, as well as intersecting their troopers on the L'Enfant Plaza. Another landing party of the Enclave lands in Alexandria trying to seize the armories, but even there it was defeated by local raiders. The Enclave contacted Vault 101 and demanded from the Overseer to open the gear doors, but isolationist Alphonse is faithful to the directive of Vault Tech and refuses them. After that, an open riot began in the vault led by Amata Almodovar, the daughter of the Overseer. In the Civil War, the rebels win and they open the vault. Those who wanted left the vault. The group of tunnel snakes finally broke up. The Enclave cannot use the installation without the gag and waits for the Wanderer to let it out of Vault 87. The Wanderer actually does so. He goes to the village of Little Lamplight, who, in exchange for help with the release of previously captured children held in Paradise Falls, show the back entrance to Vault 87 in the caves. The Wanderer inside the vault deals with the super mutants and rescues Fox from imprisonment, who brings Gek, which was in the most radiation-contaminated sector of the vault. However, at the exit he is captured by the Enclave and delivered to Raven Rock. Colonel Autumn interrogates the Wanderer, trying to figure out the access code for the Purificator. Not receiving a clear answer, he goes to the memorial on the orders of President John Henry Adan, tired of the Colonel sabotaging all his orders, frees the Wanderer, inviting him to meet face to face, and in his case face to the monitor. He orders the Enclave soldiers not to interfere with the Wanderer's movement around the base, but Colonel Autumn, having learned about the prisoner's release, orders not to listen to the President's orders and eliminate the Wanderer. Then Adan activates the turrets that shoot soldiers in Raven Rock and lets the Wanderer into the room where he was. He asks the Wanderer to pour a sample of the modified VIV into the Purificator, the strain of which is fatal to those who will drink the water, after which he lets him go. He helps the Wanderer to get to the exit, continuing to shoot his own army with robots and turrets. Outside Raven Rock, the Wanderer is rescued by Fox, who makes his way with a Gatling laser through the cordon of the Enclave guarding the entrance, after which they both reach the Brotherhood Citadel. The Wanderer gives the vial with poison to the scribes for research. Of course, he did not plan to use it at the treatment plant. By this time, the Brotherhood had finished work on the restoration of Liberty Prime, although they didn't conduct field tests. Not daring to wait any longer, they engaged into desperate battle with the Enclave and stormed the memorial using Liberty Prime. A group of raiders trapped under the Arlington Bridge dies in a battle sandwiched between the two chasing factions. During the storming of the memorial, the Enclave, along with Colonel Autumn, dies. During the fighting, the installation was damaged, which threatened to blow the entire complex. Someone had to enter the radiation chamber and turn it off. Super mutant Fox, immune to radiation, had to become the hero of the Wasteland. Nevertheless, the launch of the treatment plant was accompanied by some kind of energy release, as a result of which the Wanderer and Sarah Lyons went into a coma for 2 weeks. By starting the Purifier, the Lone Wanderer changed the fate of not only the region of the capital Wasteland. When he will wake up after the coma, he will notice that a new era of the region's history has begun, about which we will have a discussion in the next episode. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like, subscribe, hit the bell and leave a comment. Also check all the links below. They include the Google Earth map, the lore compendium and the text version of this video, which includes the statistics of settlements and factions. That's all for today. Don't turn off the Lost Holotapes radio in favor of enclaves, and see you in the Wasteland, Wanderers. Fishers out.